I hit the young lady. To break me and make me obedient, my fiancé locked me in a pitch-black haunted house for 3 days. My claustrophobia flared up and I was on the brink of death. Someone asked him, "Stella Yu is your fiancé, your future wife after all. You know full well she has claustrophobia, so why punish her so cruelly?" Lila Xia is my bottom line. Stella Yu is nothing but a maid's daughter. A little stutterer, she doesn't deserve to be my wife. When I marry Lila Xia, I'll keep this little stutterer as my mistress outside. She'll never be wronged that way. He completely forgot that he'd begged on his bruised knees for this engagement with me. On the day he secretly married her behind my back, I was already indifferent. I pulled out my phone SIM card and got into the Maybach the man had parked in the night. A sharp slap landed hard on the young lady Lila Xia's face. My palm burned fiercely, even trembling. The entire banquet hall fell deathly silent, followed by a storm of whispers and criticism. Didn't Henry Pei tell us his little fiancée is timid and gentle? Lila Xia just called her a little stutterer and got hit for it. Didn't Mr. Pei also say that only he can call Stella Yu little stutterer? She's so spoiled. It's a fact that she stutters. Can't people state the truth? She's a maid's daughter, raised in the Pei family since childhood. What does she have to be so arrogant about? Offending Lila Xia is declaring war on the entire Xia group. Stella Yu, hurry up and apologize to our Lila Xia. Lila Xia had been spoiled rotten since childhood. She'd never been hit before. Stunned by my slap, she stood frozen in place for a long time. Someone stepped forward to hold back the furious Lila Xia. Lila Xia, this little stutterer is the apple of Mr. Pei's eye after all. Even if you want to punish her, you have to ask Mr. Pei first, don't you? I don't think so. Didn't Mr. Pei order her not to show her face in public? Lila Xia planned his birthday banquet all by herself today, and Stella Yu had the nerve to hit her. Opinions were divided in the banquet hall. Some defended me, but most sided with Lila Xia. What's all the commotion about? Henry Pei arrived late, having just finished a video conference. Humiliated to the core by Lila Xia's mockery, I saw the man I'd relied on since childhood and ran straight to him. He pulled me into his arms, his eyes soft as he looked at my red, teary eyes. He seemed to have forgotten that he'd told me to stay home and wait for him today. I never should have come here, yet he comforted me gently. Who upset you? I wanted to pour out all my grievances, to say 1,000 things, but I stuttered. I could only force out the shortest words possible. Ooh-ee. Ooh-ee. Lila Xia. Henry Pei frowned. I nodded. She called. Me. A little stutterer. Having struggled to say those words, tears burst forth from my eyes. Lila Xia came over, clutching her cheek. Henry, I have no idea what I did to offend Stella Yu. I just thought she looked cute when she talked and called her a little stutterer. And she slapped me. Look, isn't my cheek swollen? Lila Xia wore a pitiful expression that would stir anyone's heart. Henry Pei suddenly pushed me away, his gaze on me cold as ice. Isn't what she said the truth? Apologize to Lila Xia. My heart shattered into pieces at his icy words. My limbs went stiff, my mind numb with shock. Henry Pei said, "You struck first. Just apologize to Lila Xia, and I'll let you stay with me tonight to celebrate my birthday." Today was Henry Pei's birthday. Worried I wouldn't fit in with this crowd, he told me to stay home and wait for him obediently. I'd spent every one of his birthdays with him before, and every year I'd made him a birthday cake with my own hands. This year was no different. I hated crowded places, so I'd planned to drop off the cake and leave right away. As soon as I walked in, everyone, led by Lila Xia, surrounded me. Stella Yu, what are you doing here? Didn't Henry Pei tell you not to come? He said you'd only embarrass him in this upper-class circle. I shook my head anxiously. It's not. He was worried. Worried you couldn't fit in? I nodded. The crowd burst into laughter. She's so naive, she actually believed him. I'm here. To deliver the cake. I'll leave. Right now. Lila Xia grabbed me and made me look at the 2-meter-tall cake in the center of the hall. This is so shabby. Did you do this on purpose to humiliate Henry? Do you care about his reputation at all? She winked at the people behind her, and 2 of them stepped forward to grab the cake I'd made. I fought to protect it, but it still fell apart and crashed to the ground. Deafening laughter and mockery exploded in my ears. If you're so upset about it, you can get on your knees and lick the cake off the floor. I snapped. Lila Xia, you apologize to me. Lila Xia looked as if she'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Her friends laughed too. She looks so ridiculous when she stutters, huh? Lila Xia covered her mouth and laughed, then asked me, were you born with that stutter? If you were, are you going to be a little stutterer for the rest of your life? I heard you were abandoned by your parents the moment you were born, adopted by a childless couple for a few years, then dumped when they had their own kid. Finally, the Pei family's maid picked you up. That maid couldn't stand her husband's domestic violence, killed him in self-defense, and then committed suicide right in front of you. Did you get scared into stuttering? If Mr. Pei hadn't begged Mrs. Pei to take in this orphan, who knows where you'd be begging for food now? She's so timid and fragile. If Henry Pei hadn't protected her all these years, she would have been bullied to death long ago. How shameless. She's leeched off the Pei family for years, and she's nothing but a useless parasite. Lila Xia pretended to stop her friends from insulting me. Don't talk about the little stutterer like that. What if she latches onto your family and sucks you dry? I couldn't take it anymore. I charged forward and slapped Lila Xia hard. She'd encouraged those rich brats to humiliate me, she deserved it. After hitting her, I was terrified. For the first time, Henry Pei wasn't there to back me up, and I had no idea how Lila Xia would take her revenge. In my extreme panic, I prayed Henry Pei would come soon and save me. He finally arrived, the Henry Pei who'd protected me since I was a child, and for the first time in front of everyone he told me to apologize to Lila Xia. But I'd done nothing wrong. They'd mocked me first, so why was it my fault for fighting back? The atmosphere in the banquet hall turned frigid, everyone's eyes on me, waiting for me to say I was sorry. I did nothing wrong. My voice trembled, but I spoke each word clearly, declaring it to everyone. Lila Xia cried beside him, and Henry Pei's expression grew more and more grim. He looked at me with reproach. Stella, you're not being good anymore. A suffocating rage built up in my chest, and I fainted on the spot. I could hear everything, but my body was limp, my eyes too heavy to open. In that moment, I desperately wanted to say, Henry Pei, I want to break up. But the thought of the Henry Pei who'd raised me and protected me all my life treating me like this for another woman was too much to bear. Henry Pei picked me up and laid me on a sofa. Someone asked him, your little fiancée is way too fragile, fainting just like that. Don't you need to take her to the hospital? Henry Pei let out a cold snort, seemingly angry at me for disobeying him. She's just throwing a tantrum. She won't die. The birthday banquet was about to start. Lila Xia said, that cake on the floor is the one Stella you brought you. She hates me so much she even tried to throw it at me. Forget that stupid cake. The birthday banquet you prepared so carefully for me was almost ruined by her. This is all her fault. When she wakes up, I'll make her beg for your forgiveness on her knees. Tears slipped silently from the corners of my eyes. I couldn't move, only listen to the sound of everyone's laughter and joy around me. Mr. Pei Jr., how long are you going to hide your relationship with Lila Xia from Stella Yu? Many people were curious, clueless about what was going on. What relationship? Are you two an item? Lila Xia said, I've chased Henry for 7 or 8 years. If this iceberg of his doesn't melt for me, I'd be so humiliated. Henry Pei wrapped an arm around Lila Xia and announced to everyone, Lila Xia is playful and cute, she's my type. Don't tell Stella Yu about this for now. It'll be a huge hassle to clean up if she makes a scene, and I hate trouble. So you're just going to abandon Stella Yu? I've been with Stella Yu for so many years, I'm already tired of her. She's a little stutterer, cowardly and timid, always cowering in the corner. There's always some mess I have to clean up for her. And she's so boring in bed. Compared to her bland little white flower act, I prefer Lila Xia's feisty wild rose. My heart turned to ash. I thought back to the last year of our long-distance relationship. His distance had been a sign all along. He'd left for Haiqing back then to take over the branch company. We'd started a long-distance relationship. Thankfully, he'd come back to Beijing to see me every week. Then it became once a month, and finally he didn't come to see me for months on end. I'd always made excuses for him, telling myself he was just busy with work. On the day of my college graduation, I didn't tell him. I bought a plane ticket to Haiqing. I'd planned to surprise him, to move there and stay with him forever. When I got to his office, I saw Lila Xia sitting on the arm of his chair eating ice cream. She held it out to Henry Pei naturally. Henry Pay, I can't finish this. Here you have it. Henry Pay didn't mind at all. He took the leftover ice cream and ate it. I'd only heard from others that Lila Xiao, who'd chased Henry Pay for years, had left Beijing. It turned out she'd followed him to Haicheng. After we'd gotten together, Henry Pay had always given me complete security. I'd never heard a single rumor about him with another woman. All the wealthy young ladies who'd loved him had been turned away by him. Now I finally understood he'd come to see me less and less because there was someone else by his side. Since I was little, Henry Pay had always told me to tell him if anyone wronged me. I didn't choose to back down. I was furious that Lila Xia was getting so close to him. I walked into his office, snatched the ice cream from his hand, and threw it into the trash can beside him. Lila Xia struck first. Stella, Henry doesn't support you, so you can waste food like this. Henry Pay came over and hugged me. Why did you come to see me suddenly? I'm not happy about this. He knew exactly what I was talking about and smiled as he explained. Are you jealous? Lila and I were just talking about a collaboration. Besides, it's just an ice cream. I only see her as a sister. She's even got a fiancé for the arranged marriage anyway. What could possibly happen between us? I'd relied on Henry Pay my whole life and believed every word he said. This time my heart was clearly uneasy, but I chose to trust him. A voice deep inside me whispered, I don't want to be abandoned again. For even though I tried to fool myself, countless little details screamed that he was no longer the Henry Pay I'd once known. He no longer clung to me the second we met like he used to. Lately he'd been working overtime nonstop. I'd go to see him often, and Lila Xia was always by his side. Today I brought him a meal I'd cooked with my own hands, and Lila Xia walked into his office at the exact same time, also carrying food. Henry Pay, afraid I'd be tired, told Lila to take me to the rest area in the office cubicle. On the bedside table sat a photo of him and her, the northern lights of the Arctic as their backdrop. Lila Xia said, Henry's been under so much work pressure. I took him to see the northern lights on the 12th last month to let him unwind. You were swamped with your graduation stuff. You didn't have time to keep him company, did you? The 12th of last month was my birthday. Henry hadn't contacted me at all during that time, and every time I texted him, his reply was always that he was busy with work. The bed was covered with a daisy pattern sheet. Even the throw pillows were the exact style Lila Xia loved. She said casually, Sometimes I get tired from work and Henry lets me rest here. I've been coming so often I just decorated it with a few things I like. You don't mind making do here for a bit, do you? She flicked her long hair over her shoulder unconsciously, and the bracelet on her wrist blazed like a thorn in my eye. It reminded me of the one on Henry Pay's wrist. Their bracelets were identical. No matter how slow I was, I understood now. Lila Xia was laying claim to what she thought was hers. She was telling me that Henry Pay indulged her. I didn't want to wait for Henry to go home with me anymore. I walked out to pack up the lunchbox he'd left untouched. He'd been eating the food Lila brought while working, not even opening the meal I'd spent 2 hours making. I grabbed it and turned to leave. If he wouldn't eat it, it was better fed to the dogs. When I got back, he hugged me and apologized. Lila's a client of the company after all. I can't just snub her like that. I asked him, the bracelet. Is it also for the client? Yeah. The ice cream too? Yeah. My birthday's in a few days. Lila said she'll plan it this time. All the big names in the business world will be there. You definitely can't show up, so you stay home and wait for me. I'll come back and we'll celebrate my birthday, just the two of us, okay? I was so naive back then. I thought he was worried I wouldn't be able to handle the big crowd, that he was thinking of my feelings. But when I slapped Lila Xia in front of everyone and heard Henry announce their relationship to the world, I finally understood. Just like everyone else, he thought I was a freak for stuttering, thought I was too lowborn to stand by his side. 5. I don't know how long I lay unconscious on the sofa. When I woke up, the banquet was already over. From the corner of my eye, I saw Henry Pay sitting next to Lila Xia, applying medicine to her face. He noticed I was awake and stared at me coldly, nodding at Lila's cheek. Look what you've done. How is Lila supposed to face anyone now? Don't think playing dead gets you out of this. You're awake now, apologize to Lila. Once I was his untouchable soft spot. Now in his heart I was nothing but a weed to be trampled on. I'd been in so much pain, so heartbroken I'd fainted, and he thought I was faking it. This humiliation tore at my heart like a knife. I had no family. I'd been abandoned twice by the people who were supposed to love me. I truly didn't want to be abandoned a third time. But I didn't want him anymore. This time I was the one walking away. My throat felt raw and sore, but my voice was firm. Henry paid. We're done. Henry laughed in anger. First you fake a faint to avoid apologizing, then you say we're done? You really are shameless. He turned to his friend beside him. Is that haunted house chain project of yours finished? It's done. It'll be open for business soon. Let Stella you be the first to experience it. She can come out when she learns to be obedient, when she admits she's wrong. As the bodyguards carried me away, Lila Xia mouthed 2 words at me. Serves you right. I struggled, screaming Henry Pei's name, but he didn't spare me a single glance, his attention fixed on dabbing medicine on Lila's face. I stopped fighting. The bodyguards threw me into the pitch-black haunted house and tossed down an old cell phone. The only number in its contacts was Henry Pei's. Miss you, Mr. Pei said if you admit you're wrong, call this number. He'll come personally to take you to apologize to Miss Xia. He looked like he couldn't bear to watch and urged me. This haunted house is a tight, enclosed space. It's terrifying in there. You should just apologize to Miss Xia. I turned my back to him. I did nothing wrong. The bodyguard sighed helplessly and closed the heavy iron door. It wasn't long before I heard Henry talking to his friend not far from the door. Stella Yu is still your fiancée, your future wife. You know full well she has claustrophobia. How can you punish her so cruelly? Lila Xia is my bottom line. Stella Yu is nothing but a maid's daughter. A little stutterer. She doesn't deserve to be my wife. When I marry Lila Xia, I'll keep this little stutterer as my mistress. She'll never be wrong that way. So it was true. He'd never intended to marry me at all. 6. I couldn't understand why. My whole life I'd been the one being chosen, the one being abandoned. My birth parents had thrown me in a trash can the second I was born. Thankfully, my adoptive parents had picked me up and raised me until I was 6. Those 6 years they'd been trying to have a child of their own. When they finally did, all the love that had been mine was taken away. I thought to myself, it's okay if they don't love me anymore. I just need a roof over my head. Then, on a trip not long after, they left me on the highway. No matter how hard I ran, I couldn't catch up to the car that was driving further and further away. I waited in the pitch-black night for hours, but my adoptive parents never came back for me. In that moment, I realized I'd been abandoned again. Later I met my nanny mom. Her husband was infertile, so she took me home with her. She'd worked as a maid for the Pei family for almost 10 years. Because her husband was a deadbeat, drinking, gambling, whoring, she was afraid he'd hit me, so she begged Mrs. Pei to let her bring me to live at the Pei mansion. The first time I met Henry Pei was after he got home from school. I was in the yard, petting his cat. He shoved me away hard. Who are you? How dare you touch my cat? He hated anyone touching his things. Nanny mom made me apologize to him, but he pushed me down the stairs instead. At first, our relationship was terrible. Then Nanny mom taught me how to please him. Once I got close to him, I found he wasn't as cold and heartless as he seemed. He was the young master of the house, and I was just a maid's daughter. All the bad blood between us was wiped clean from that day on. Thanks to Mrs. Pei, I got to go to the same school as Henry Pei. He was 3 years older than me. Nanny mom would pack his lunch in my school bag every day, making me bring it to him at lunchtime. At school, I was happy to run errands for him. Just that alone made me feel infinitely happy. I had a new mom. Mrs. Pei was kind to me, and Henry Pei treated me like a big brother. The arrogant young master from before had become a little son that revolved around me. But happy days never last. After the high school entrance exam, Nanny mom couldn't take her husband's years of domestic violence any longer. She killed him in self-defense and finally cried and said to me, "Mom's changing your name to Stella. I hope you live a happy life. Life won't always be dark, there's always new hope. Mom's heart is broken. I can't stay with you and live a good life anymore." She slit her own throat right in front of me. No matter how hard I pressed my hands to her neck, I couldn't stop the bleeding. Nanny mom chose to die in her husband's rental house. I'd been abandoned again. This blow made me even more timid and cowardly. From then on, I became the little stutterer everyone laughed at. Nanny mom had left all her money to me. On the day I packed my things to move out of the Pei mansion, Henry Pei skipped school for the first time in his life. "Where are you going?" "To the school." Dormitory. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. After the trauma, my speech was stuttered. I had to slow down, forcing myself to get the whole sentence out through the pain. He snatched my school bag off my shoulder and threw it on the bed. You're not leaving. I'll beg my mom to let you stay. I'm not living in the dorm when I go to college. I'll come home every day. You're not living in the dorm either, and you're not renting an apartment outside. I never found out what Henry said to Mrs. Pei, but she let me stay. Everyone at school laughed at me for stuttering. I was living under someone else's roof, so I dared not say a word when I was wronged. But Henry Pei understood my situation. He could read every little shift in my mood in an instant. He'd take me to school and stand up for me. He'd comfort me when I was overwhelmed with grief. What's wrong with being a little stutterer? I love my little stutter. Henry Pei begged his mom for me twice in his life. Once to let me stay at the Pei mansion. The other time to ask for my hand in marriage. He knelt in the living room for 3 days without eating or drinking, begging his mom to agree. His mom had always been kind to me, but her attitude changed completely when she found out we were dating. A girl like me could never be good enough for a wealthy family like the Peis. Henry Pei defied his entire family for me, turning down the arranged marriage. He knelt and kowtowed to his mom, his forehead bleeding profusely. In the end, Mrs. Pei caved. We got engaged in front of everyone. He said he'd marry me after I graduated from college. I graduated college without a hitch and went to find him with my heart full of joy. I thought that soon he'd marry me and take me into his home. Instead, all I got was his cold words. She doesn't deserve to be my wife. First day of my confinement. I could barely breathe. The endless darkness threatened to swallow me whole. I clawed at the iron door, my fingers scraping raw and bloody. The bodyguard had been kind enough to leave me some food before he left, but I couldn't eat a bite. I was terrified to death. This kind of darkness devours people. After Nanny Mom died, I'd suffered severe psychological trauma. I was timid, afraid of the dark, and for a long time I dared not sleep with the lights off. Once, a new maid accidentally locked me in the storage room for a whole day. I had a panic attack and was hospitalized for a week. That Henry Pei, the one who'd had eyes only for me, the one who knew I had claustrophobia, he'd still locked me up here without a second thought. Second day. My condition got worse and worse. I turned on the old cell phone, its battery only half full, and opened the contacts list. I stared at Henry Pei's phone number. Why should I beg him for mercy? I dialed another number, one I'd memorized by heart. It was my only lifeline. The voice on the other end was calm and reassuring. Even not knowing who was calling, he spoke with endless patience. Hello? Milo Yi. Milo Yi. At the sound of my weak voice, Milo Yi's breath hitched. Stella Yu? What's wrong with you? My heartbeat thundered in my ears, drowning out Milo Yi's anxious questions. A deafening buzz filled my head and I fainted. I teetered on the brink of death again and again, clinging to life by a thread each time. I glanced at the dying phone. It was the third day. A blinding light tore through the door. A man in a wheelchair stood backlit against it. Before I slipped into unconsciousness, he lifted me into his arms and ordered the owner of the locked room, "Don't tell Henry Pei a word about this. Or else. Don't worry, Mr. E. It'll be our little secret." Milo Yi's arm around me tightened. "Stella Yu, I'm taking you away." I was in a coma for 3 days and Milo E never left my side, not for a single moment. It had been years since we'd met. Why was he in a wheelchair now? Your leg. He avoided the question, only telling his assistant to bring me food and fed me himself. During my hospital stay, I asked him repeatedly how he'd hurt his leg, but he always changed the subject. On the day he was tied up with an international video conference, his assistant finally found a chance to talk to me alone. He said Milo Yi's leg had been injured because of me. He didn't want me to feel guilty, for it had all been his own one-sided doing. After Mr. E saw you with young Master Pei, he left the country heartbroken. He threw himself into his studies abroad those years. It was the only way to stop himself from thinking about you. He struggled for a long time and told me he'd even be the third party if it meant winning you over. The day he came back to see you, he got into a car accident. Then he heard young Master Pei had kneeled and banged his head bloody in front of Mrs. Pei to ask for your hand. He lay in the hospital, devastated. Young Master Pei had given so much to marry you, he knew you'd never leave him. And our Mr. E was left a cripple. He was afraid you'd look down on him. He changed his tone. But the leg injury is only temporary. The doctor said with active treatment and intensive rehabilitation, he'll be able to walk again in a few months. Shortly after I got engaged to Henry Pei, Milo E had sent me his phone number. Stella, you come to me if you ever have any trouble. I'll do everything I can to help you. The number's simple, you'll remember it after one listen. My heart ached as if gnawed by 10,000 ants. I told him once I hated math, that numbers annoyed me, that complicated ones drove me crazy. So he'd made his phone number incredibly simple. He was afraid I'd forget it. The man I'd once dismissed was now the one who'd saved me from the abyss. Milo E was Mrs. Pei's youngest brother. They were only a few months apart in age. His parents had died soon after giving birth to him, and he'd been raised by Mrs. Pei since he was a child. I'd barely seen him after moving into the Pei mansion. He'd mostly lived at school. When he got a little older, he came home often and stopped boarding. I was timid and he had an icy face, always quiet and unsmiling. I was afraid of him. I'd hated seeing him every time he came home. Thankfully, Henry Pei was always between us, otherwise, it would have been unbearable. I'd never thought he'd like me, not until he and Henry Pei confessed to me at the same time. I couldn't understand it. We'd barely exchanged 2 words a day, why would he like me? He'd stammered, awkward and earnest. I like you, so I want you to be better. So I'm willing to tutor you in your lessons. My math grades had plummeted badly back then, and Mrs. Pei had asked Milo E to help me with my studies. He'd sat beside me, more rigid than my math teacher, even punishing me to copy the textbook 20 times for mistakes. I'd thought I'd offended him somehow, that he was using the tutoring to get back at me. So this was how a straight-A student loved someone? I thought his love was suffocating and inexplicable, and I turned him down. Compared to him, Henry Pei and I had more in common, no awkwardness between us. The assistant said, Mr. E told me he was stupid back then, didn't know how to win a girl's heart. That's why he missed you. But now he has a second chance and he wants to do everything right for you. 2 light coughs came from outside the door. The assistant clammed up in a panic. Do you want to lose your job? The assistant slapped his own mouth obsequiously, then hurried over to wheel Milo E to my bedside. Having his old feelings laid bare, Milo E's eyes wandered, too embarrassed to meet mine. The doctor said you can be discharged in 2 more days of observation. And there's something else I need to tell you, don't be angry. Henry Pei and Lila Xia are getting married in 2 days. 9. It was exactly what I'd expected. My heart had long since died, broken by his endless hurts. I let out a bitter laugh. It's none of my business. Milo E held my hand tight, his gaze unwavering. I really don't want to miss you this time. Will you marry me? His assistant stood behind him, holding his breath, probably afraid I'd refuse. If Henry Pei could let go of the past and start a new life, why couldn't I? I couldn't be such a hypocrite to let him marry someone else, but not allow myself to marry another. Hey, I'll marry you. As soon as I was discharged from the hospital, Milo E and I rushed to the Civil Affairs Bureau and got our marriage certificate. That day, every electronic billboard in the city played the wedding promotion for Henry Pei and Lila Xia. Night fell in the blink of an eye, and brilliant fireworks burst in the night sky. Everyone was wishing the newlyweds a happy marriage. In the dark, I got into the Maybach parked in front of the hotel. Everything in Haicheng blurred as we drove away. After getting my call, Milo E had rushed back from abroad non-stop. This time, on the plane to a foreign country, he was no longer alone. 10 every single day Henry Pei locked Stella Yu up. He checked his phone repeatedly, waiting for her to call and beg for forgiveness. Lila Xia had chased him for years, and she wasn't about to let this chance slip. Henry, we were going to get married anyway. Why not do it now before Stella Yu finds out? Even if she makes a scene later, there's nothing she can do about it, right? She's been with you since you were kids with no family to her name. You can make it up to her however you want after we're married. I won't interfere. Lila Xia was a wealthy young lady after all. Marrying into the Pei family was a marriage of mutual benefit. Stella Yu was nothing, not even as good as a concubine in ancient times. Letting Henry Pei keep her as a mistress outside was already giving her too much face. Henry Pei's chest burned with anger. He'd spoiled Stella Yu rotten, and for her to defy him for so long this time was truly pushing her luck. He agreed to marry Lila Xia. On the wedding day, an inexplicable panic gnawed at him. a constant fear that Stella Yu was dead. He asked his friend, "Are you sending her food every day?" His friend had long since been threatened by Milo E, and didn't dare tell him Stella Yu was already gone. He could only mumble an excuse, "Yeah, she's got food. He finishes it every time I check. She won't starve to death." Finally, he let out a breath of relief. He got through the entire wedding ceremony. Lila Xia had gotten what she'd wanted, but still felt a twinge of regret. The wedding had been rushed in Haicheng, and even though it had cost 100 million yuan, it still felt shabby to her. Henry Pei comforted her. "As soon as the new person in charge of the branch arrives, we'll go back to Beijing and hold a bigger wedding to make up for it." Lila Xia threw herself into his arms sweetly. "I'm so happy. I finally married you." Henry Pei's mind wandered. He thought back to the day he'd gotten engaged to Stella Yu. She'd been just as happy, so excited she hadn't wanted to sleep that night, clinging to him and teasing him until dawn. It was a pity Stella Yu would never get the chance to marry him now. But keeping her as a mistress outside was fine too. She hated being around people anyway, then she wouldn't have to. He'd take her to take wedding photos someday to make it up to her. He pictured Stella Yu in a wedding dress in his mind. She'd look absolutely beautiful. Stella Yu was small, so short she couldn't even kiss him when she wore high heels. On that day he'd lift her up in his arms and kiss her for the photos. Lila Xia kissed him, and Henry Pei's mind was still on Stella Yu in her wedding dress. In a daze he whispered a name. "Stella Yu." Lila Xia pulled away, her face dark with anger. "Henry Pei, we're getting married today and you call Stella Yu's name while kissing me?" She was about to fly into a rage, and Henry Pei wanted to smooth things over. He backtracked quickly. "No, I was just saying Stella Yu's really stubborn. Locked up for half a month and still refusing to apologize to you." Lila Xia let out a cold snort. "Then keep her locked up. We can't just let this go. If she dares hit me today, she'll dare to defy you tomorrow. She's just a country bumpkin, doesn't know her place at all." The more Lila Xia talked, the angrier Henry Pei got. The cat he raised was docile, never daring to defy him in the slightest. Stella Yu had gotten more and more spoiled being raised by him. If she was his possession, she had no right to defy him. What he needed was absolute obedience. He couldn't sleep soundly for the 2 nights after the wedding. He kept dreaming about Stella Yu blaming him. In his dreams, Stella Yu cried, saying she was afraid of the dark, that her bloody fingerprints covered the iron door of the locked room. In the early morning he jolted awake. Seeing Lila Xia still asleep, he snuck out of the house. He went to the place where he'd locked Stella Yu up, waking his friend in the middle of the night. 11 Knowing he could no longer hide the truth, his friend explained nervously to Henry Pei. On the 3rd day, Stella Yu was taken away by your uncle. Henry Pei flew into a rage, grabbing him by the collar. "Why didn't you tell me this important thing? Your uncle made me promise not to." He was so furious because he knew Milo E had coveted Stella Yu for a long time. Stella Yu was innocent and naive. It would be easy for Milo E to fool her. He called his assistant, his voice cold. "Find out where Stella Yu and Milo E are. Are they in the country or abroad?" His friend tried to calm him down. "Just take it easy. We'll find her for sure." "Don't tell me to take it easy. My woman ran off with another man." He punched the man in the face, then pulled out his phone and called Milo E. As expected, every call was rejected. He got home as the sky was starting to lighten. It was Lila Xia's wedding return visit day, the day a new bride returns to her parents' home after marriage. Lila Xia had woken up early and saw Henry Pei walk in, his body cold with anger. "Honey, where did you go? When I woke up, your side of the bed was already cold." He smashed everything in his path that annoyed him. When he'd finished smashing almost everything, his assistant called. "Speak. Mr. Pei. Miss Yu is married." "What?" He ground his teeth, his voice venomous. "Say that again. Who did she marry?" "She married Mr. E." He couldn't believe his ears, demanding, "Which Mr. E?" "Milo E." He flipped over Lila Xia's dressing table in a rage. "So Stella Yu wants to be my aunt now?" Amid the deafening crash, he snapped, "Where are they now?" "Mr. E has taken Miss Yu abroad. Book me the next flight out." He hung up after the order, rummaging through cabinets like a madman for his documents. Lila Xia had heard every word. Watching Henry Pei's frantic rush, she asked tentatively, Today's my return visit to my parents' home. Where are you going? Lila Xia, be good. Go back on your own today and I'll come find you when I'm done, okay? Lila Xia knew she couldn't keep him and scoffed. A stutterer like Stella Yu and a cripple like Milo E. They really are a match made in heaven. Henry Pei's last shred of patience snapped. He backhanded her hard across the face. Who do you think you are to slander my Stella Yu? She and Milo E are no match at all. She only belongs with me. In life and in death, she's my woman. He had no time for Lila Xia's nonsense, grabbed his documents and headed for the airport. 12 We settled down abroad and Milo E wanted to take me to his company. The thought of meeting new people made me refuse in a panic. No. 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 I stammered uncontrollably when nervous, terrified of being laughed at. I and Milo E were never meant to be. He wiped away my falling tears one by one. You're my wife. I want everyone to know you. Won't I embarrass you? He looked at me in surprise, pressing a kiss to my cheek. Don't worry. My circle is clean. My friends and employees are all people of good character. No one will ever think you embarrass me. You're my wife, we stand together in glory and shame. Henry Pei had never said he minded my stutter to my face, yet he'd never taken me to meet his friends, nor let me step foot in his company. He'd called it sparing me discomfort, but it was nothing but contempt. He thought a woman like me was unworthy of being his wife, so he'd married a wealthy young lady of his station behind my back. Then he'd planned to keep me as his mistress like nothing had happened. Milo E was different. He was open and unashamed. He found me a psychologist and took me to meet all kinds of people. Every time I saw Milo E in his wheelchair, guilt washed over me. If he hadn't rushed back to see me, none of this would have happened. Thankfully, with me by his side for treatment, he was almost fully recovered. The day we returned home after Milo Yi's leg had healed, I thought I was seeing a ghost. I blinked hard, sure my eyes were playing tricks on me. How could I see Henry Pei of all people abroad? His face was contorted with rage. He threw a punch at Milo E the second he saw him. Why, you shameless old man. Why did you trick my woman? Milo Yi's leg had only just mended. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Luckily, bodyguards rushed over and restrained Henry Pei. Milo E looked utterly bewildered. I'm only a few months older than you. It was a fair fight, you just lost. I panicked, staring at the blood trickling from Milo Yi's lips, and wiped it away with my sleeve. He winced in pain, yet told me not to dirty my clothes. Henry Pei's voice was desperate. Stella Yu, I heard he tricked you into marrying him, didn't he? Did he threaten you? I glanced at Milo E, then stepped forward to face Henry Pei. I'd rehearsed the words in my heart and spoke them slowly, one by one. He didn't trick me and he didn't threaten me. I married him of my own free will. He respects me. He doesn't despise me for being a stutterer. He doesn't marry someone else behind my back because of my low birth. And he never once thought of keeping me as a mistress. Henry Pei, you've already married Lila Xia. Please stop pestering me. Having struggled to say all that, I watched Henry Pei shake his head and cry. I regret it. My heart just wandered for a moment. Stella Yu, why can't you forgive me for one mistake? Haven't I been good to you since we were kids? I never once despised you for your stutter. I knelt and kowtowed to my mother to get her to agree to our engagement. If I despised you, would I have done all that? I slapped him hard across the face. I believed you didn't mind once. After Lila Xia followed you to Haiqing, how many times did you come back to Beijing to see me? You never intended to marry me. If I'd compromised and let you keep me as a mistress, you still wouldn't have cherished me. You only regret this now because you're bitter I married someone else. Your pride's hurt, isn't it? No, I cut him off with another slap. This one's for my husband. You had no right to hit him. I turned and linked arms with Milo E, walking inside. Henry Pei's scream followed us. Stella Yu, you think you can be my aunt? I'll never accept it. Just you wait, I'll make you come back to me. 13 Henry Pei did not stay abroad long. After seeing Stella Yu, he flew straight back to Beijing. Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. You want to offend the entire Xia family for Stella Yu? Is marriage a joke to you? Now you want to call off the engagement? Do you have any idea how angry the Xia family is with the Peis because you didn't accompany Lila Xia on her return visit? Mrs. Pei was shaking with fury, striking Henry Pei with a long stick. Henry Pei clenched his teeth through the pain. Mom, even if you beat me to death today, I will end this marriage with the Xia family. I want to marry Stella Yu. I want to marry Stella Yu. At the sound of Stella Yu's name, Mrs. Pei struck even harder. Stella Yu is already married to Milo. Belated affection is cheaper than grass. I have no idea what kind of spell Stella Yu has cast over you and Milo. When her foster mother died, you begged me to keep her. I told you I'd think about it, and the second you left, your uncle came begging me for the same thing. What is so special about her that you two would fight over her to the bitter end? Henry Pei coughed up blood from the beating. She's perfect in every way. I want Stella Yu and I'm never letting her go. If you refuse to end the engagement, I'll die right here today. Henry Pei was hospitalized from the beating, yet Mrs. Pei still refused to listen to him. That night, Mrs. Pei made an international call to Milo E. Milo Yi, you really outdid yourself marrying Stella Yu behind my back. You could have at least discussed it with me. Discussing it with you would have led to nothing but refusal, wouldn't it? Sister, I will only ever marry Stella Yu in this life. No matter how far you reach, you can't control my life anymore. If you accept this, I'll bring her back to see you someday. If not, there's nothing I can do about it. Do you and Henry intend to drive me to my grave? Mrs. Pei slammed the phone down in anger. Henry Pei would not be silenced. He even went to the media to announce he was ending the engagement with the Xia family. The Xia family was humiliated beyond measure. Left with no other choice, Mrs. Pei cleaned up Henry Pei's mess. The engagement was called off at the cost of 12 billion yuan in compensation to the Xia family. In the end, Henry Pei was disowned and thrown out of the house. This is the last time I'll indulge you. You will pay me back that 12 billion yuan, or you can forget you ever had a mother. It took Henry Pei 3 months to sort out all the mess. He flew abroad to find Stella Yu and said to her, Stella Yu, I've divorced Lila Xiao. Can you marry me now? Stella Yu gagged in front of him. Henry Pei's face crumpled with hurt. Stella Yu, do I disgust you that much? Milo E held out the medical report he'd just gotten from the hospital to Henry Pei. My wife is pregnant. We'll be holding our wedding in a month. We won't be inviting you. I heard you owe my sister 12 billion yuan. Hurry up and go earn the money to pay her back. On Stella Yu's wedding day, Henry Pei still showed up uninvited, thick-skulled as ever. But Milo E had kept a close eye on him. Afraid he'd cause trouble, he'd given Henry a table all to himself, surrounded by 18 bodyguards. He tried to catch a glimpse of Stella Yu in her wedding dress, but the bodyguards blocked his way. Every time he stood up, they stepped in front of him. They warned him, Young Master Pei, Mr. E ordered us, if you dare look at our madam again, we'll throw you out. Henry Pei could only sit at the table and cry into his hands. Thankfully, the bodyguards blocked him completely. It would have been the worst of bad luck for the newlyweds to see someone crying on their wedding day. After the wedding feast, Henry Pei had to return to Beijing. He'd promised Mrs. Pei he'd pay back the 12 billion yuan, penny for penny. Before he left, he had a note delivered and left it on the stone lion at the gate of the E family villa. Milo E opened it. It read, Stella Yu, if he ever treats you badly, come to me anytime. I'll wait for you for the rest of my life. He tore the note to shreds and threw it away, never letting Stella Yu know it existed. Stella Yu's life from now on should have no more ties to a scumbag like him.